have the public be able to have access. We got
Okay,
it.
And the
Dr.
live stream
Van,
is coming
looks
up.
like we're
Okay.
live. Yep.
There we
They
go.
found the
Okay, so
source
we're
of
live
the,
streaming, so
Thank
you
you.
can call the meeting to order now, sir.
wait, not yet. I gotta post
Not
it on the
yet.
website.
I have to
You gotta
send
post it on the
Tracy.
website.
Yeah, we
Step
got to
two.
live stream and then get the link and then it's got to be posted. So give us a 1 minute.
I did learn something. The other day I looked at our meeting and I started doing the notes, the minutes. There was only 5 views on our YouTube video. After I finished on what was it? Friday afternoon, we had 11. I think I'm 4 of the views of the thing.
Okay, Dr. Van, you're good to go.
All right, BJ, you can convene the meeting.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Athletic Training Advisory Committee to order. Today is September 12th, 2022. The time is 3:20 p.m. And please know any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Dr. Collada, please confirm you verified the identity of all tele and video conference participants. And is the sound clear and audible to the public and those on tele and video conference?
Yes, we've identified everybody and we're ready to roll, sir.
All
And I
right.
just checked to make sure and you have no public comments yet.
Yes, sir. All additions to the executive or public agenda must be made presently, as we will no longer make additions to the agenda after the close of the public session. Right. Dr. Collada, there are no public comments at this time.
None, sir.
We'll take roll. BJ Duplantis here. Dave Giardina,
Here.
Alex Dibley,
Here.
Greg Stewart.
Here.
All right, let's see. Is anybody else from the committee on? No, I don't see anybody. Jason Donovan. Dr. Letty. Laney Litchfield. So they are not present. We do have a quorum. We have Dr. Van Collada.
Here I am. Welcome. Thank you. Sorry for the delay.
Yes, sir. We have Dr. Clark.
Thank you.
Let's see, Miss Patricia,
Wilton, our executive council,
Miss Olivia Pelong,
staff,
Jacinta,
who's also staff,
and
Miss Tracy Morrow, who was our IT coordinator today.
Thank you, Miss Tracy, for getting us up and running. All
You're
right.
very welcome. Jacinta did that though.
Well, thank you, Jacinta. All right, so at this time, we don't have any public comments, do we, Dr. Collada?
No, sir, none yet.
All right, so old business, we have the minutes from the meeting of the Athletic Training Advisory Committee, August 22nd, 2022. So in doing the minutes, I noticed an error on my part, that we forgot to publicly discuss one section of some additions to the rules and regs, and it's a very important section. And that would be in subchapter 3.
Wait. Before you do that, since you didn't do it, it's really not part of the minutes. So you got to approve the minutes and then
Okay,
add it as an item of business for this meeting.
thank you. Okay,
Motion to accept. Second.
Alex, you got that? You can watch it on YouTube later. That's what I did. All right, motion passes. All right, so we're moving on. Dr. Collada, do we have any public comment at this time?
Quick double check. No, sir, none.
Okay. the rules and regs revision. Now, is that that's a separate old business, or is that we're moving on to the new business?
Well, that is old business. We've been working on it.
Right.
And so now if you want to add what you didn't do, you can talk about it now, but we have a revision that we can show you. Just
Yes,
give me a
sir.
minute to make sure I can get to where it is. I think you can see it. Let me know. I'll have to see. Let's see. Let me pull it up. It's my mistake. I thought I had it ready. 1 second. All right, so this is the rules revision. Let's see if y'all can see that. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is the rules revision. And Pat, you want to comment on any of this?
Sure. So what I did was I pulled a transcript from the last meeting and I did my very best to make all of the changes that you all discussed as proposed changes. Unfortunately, one of the changes that you actually voted on, you're going to need to revisit, I think, because if you remember the discussion you had and voted to take the Katie requirement out of the rules, which, you know, I understand all the rationale for it, and it may be something you want to do down the line, but right now that's actually in the law. So we can't make our rules not meet at least the minimum threshold that's in the law. So we can put that on hold until we see if somebody wants to sponsor a change to the law that would make it not a complete requirement. And then you could change your rules to accommodate. But other than that, what's in red is what I added to your existing changes that you already had. And I added the substantive things. And while I was in there, I took the liberty of doing some verb tenses and making some other brevity changes that as long as we're cleaning it up, we can clean it up all the way. But those are stylistic. So if anybody doesn't like them, you're free to reject them.
Yes, ma'am. And we'll get a copy of this. Will we get a email version of it?
Well, if you're going to make some additions to this, I can send it to you, but it wouldn't be current based upon what you may or may not do today.
Yes, sir.
You said you wanted to address something that we didn't address.
Yes, sir.
So now would be the time to talk about it.
Okay, in subchapter 3, practice, chapter 57, athletic trainers, subchapter A, general provisions.
Okay, let's see. What you got a section number?
5705.
Okay,
It's probably at the end.
that's fine. I just need to get there.
It's in the net. Yeah, it's at the end of all this.
There we go. We're getting close.
There you go.
All right. It is E.
Yeah, I noticed that was missing and I didn't know what to do about it. So I renumbered everything because you still have general supervision later on down in your original draft. So that's up to you.
E was, there was nothing, I'm sorry, F. It was F. For some reason we didn't have E. I guess I mistyped it, but physical rehabilitation, right? The care given to athletes following athletic injury and recovery. These treatments and rehabilitation programs may consist of pre-established methods of physical modality, use, and exercise as prescribed by a supervising physician or both.
Well,
Right,
we
we
took
got
out
that.
or both.
Right. We took that out.
Yeah.
Yep. Physical rehabilitation also includes working cooperatively with and under the general supervision of a physician with respect to the following. Right, implementation. Right, we have that one, taking out operation. We did that. Written.
That's just a verb tense thing that I changed.
Right. And let's see. Operational therapeutic modalities. I'm just trying to make sure I'm All right. Okay, so we have written supervision.
Yeah, that didn't seem to fit where you put it, so I put it at the end. I
Okay,
moved it.
look, that's why I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a
Yeah,
lawyer.
so this is all the stuff right here about rehabilitation, and then I stuck that right there. I made that F, actually.
Okay. And then this is where it's going about written supervising physician approval in addition to regular documented clinical practice guidelines. A physician may approve an athletic trainer to provide board-approved additional therapeutic modalities such as dry needling of peripheral minor wound of the peripheral, cannot speak, sorry, minor wound care and suturing, or the intravenous administration of 9% saline in accordance with the rules adopted by the board based upon the following criteria. So like I had omitted all of this on accident. It was on the original draft I gave you. I just didn't underline it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay,
So
all right,
I didn't have it as new
got it.
verbiage. I had it as it was already existing.
Right.
And that was my error. And that's why I wanted to make sure I brought it to the attention publicly and in front of everybody.
Oh, and on that second column, that under that 4B and C, that needs to be removed. That's that was a cut and paste that I didn't cut. No.
I feel you. I
four
feel you on
stay.
that. Trust me, I know.
4 stays, B and C go. They are actually over there in 3. Yeah, that just needs to be deleted completely because it's over there in 3.
Do I need to continue reading?
No, this is nothing else that you wanted to change?
Well, there was more to it.
The qualifications, the 1 through,
Right, 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah,
Athletic trainer should hold a license for a minimum of 3 years. And the reason why we suggested that was to make sure that the physician and the athletic trainer have a relationship. So if somebody comes in, hey, I can do dry needling, I can do sutures, and I can do IV therapy. Well, hold on a second. How do I know you're doing that? Because I'm the supervising physician.
right.
And that's why we had put a minimum of 3 years there. So you have that relationship with your supervising physician, because they're the ones that's ultimately going to decide whether or not you're going to be able to do this.
TJ, was that that was in law? These things?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. This is all in the rules to meet with the current Katie accredited standards. Because
Okay.
this is all the stuff that is being taught currently to all of our students.
Right.
We can all go and get the additional certifications to do suturing, to do IV therapy, to do dry needling. But we wanted to make sure we had some parameters and rules and regs. And I knew we had left off something. I was like, man, I don't remember discussing this last time. And when I went back typing the minutes, that's when I realized.
So recent grads will have to wait 3 years before doing these things. And the older ATs will have to receive certification
Yes, sir.
and coursework. Okay.
Yes, sir. And that way, so like we've already established our relationship with our physicians. So we go take the course and the physician feels comfortable that we can do it. You have the permission versus a new person coming out. Okay, I'm certified and all that. Well, hold on a second. I have no relationship with you. Yeah, you might hold that certificate, but I don't know what you're capable of.
Okay. So the board's going to require a certificate, not, yeah, I'm physician trained to do an IV. Correct, Dr. Collada?
That's what you wanted to say. That's what we're
No,
going to
no,
make it
no.
say.
I'm asking, how's that going to fly is what I'm saying.
So
Well,
that was-
if you all decide to make it as part of the rules, we will say, okay, those people that want to do this have to submit the certificate to us.
right. And I have that coming up on number 2. So the board with recommendations from the Athletic Training Advisory Committee shall approve and list courses based upon educational training and hours required for certification. Upon completion of certification, the board requests a copy of the certificate be placed on file, as well as a letter of acknowledgement from the supervising physician. So that answers your question, Dave?
Well, yeah, if that's what we want, because I mean, in the past, you would run across things that, heck, I was with physicians for 20 and 30 years, I mean, we knew everybody's move and I've been watching surgeries and everything else, but that's not a course is what I'm saying. Is a lot of team doctors would say, oh yeah, Dave knows how to do that, but that's not what we're going to require. We're going to require a certificate, correct?
Right, if you're gonna do one of these 3 additional things or any other therapeutic modality that your physician feels is appropriate.
Okay. Got it.
Number 3, in no way shall these additional therapeutic modalities be construed to allow the practice of medicine. 4, in no way shall any additional. Oh, this is Alex's part. This is where you said the redundant.
That's right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No
This is
way
the-
shall
this is the
these
one.
additional. No way.
Should that be
shall these
devices or
additional
modality?
Approved therapeutic devices be performed on a minor without parental or guardian's written consent and direct physician supervision. So if you're in the high school setting and you are trained to do this, you have to have direct supervision from your physician and consent from the parent. This is in order to protect public health and safety.
So if we got a 16-year-old athlete with a hamstring and needs dry needling, the physician's going to have to be on site.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have to have consent, written consent from the parent in order to administer that. And this is only for minors.
Can that be a blanket first of the year a blanket consent?
If that's okay with the board, I mean, this was just proposed language.
Yeah.
That
I don't know how it works, honestly. I don't know. I'm just thinking ahead if some, is any of this urgent stuff? Do you have time? What if there's no parent there? What if, I get that it's additional therapeutic procedures and so forth. So these would not be anything emergency because we took care of that in a different section.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
So suturing
Yeah.
IVs, it's basically a bonus.
Right.
Instead of having to send a kid to the ER, to get
Okay.
sutures, if the physician is minor, physician is there
Uh-huh.
and they are comfortable with the athletic trainer doing it, they can do it. But I don't know many physicians that wouldn't want to do it themselves.
Right. I mean, unless it's like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, when we have, we go in at halftime, it's been 95 degrees outside and 88 degrees humidity. We got kids following all kind of cramping. We got about 6 offensive linemen cramped up, and we got 20 minutes at a halftime. So, you triage and it's a mash, and the doctor needs more than one hand, to do this. So he employs his ATs to assist.
Well, let's
Right.
talk about, if this is a college setting, it's one thing. If it's a high school setting, how are you going to get the consents?
Well, in a local high school I'm familiar with, they got preseason, they had a lecture with the doctors and the parents at the, preseason meeting when you always meet, the staff, and the physicians requested that they get permission to do this sort of thing if needed.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was wondering. And I just don't know. I'm not that firmed up on consent laws as a practical matter. Dr. Collada, Dr. Clark, Dr. Stewart, is that sufficient for informed consent? Can you do it? Can you say it at the beginning of the season and say, hey, whatever y'all need to do, you have my permission to do?
I think that's already in sort of some of the paperwork for preseason.
Okay,
It's kind of like emergency care. We have that written down in
Okay.
high school
It's,
athletic
it's in the
association. It
physical
says
form too.
you have to, right, that, we need to have that preseason because there's a lot of parents.
That
or
don't
kids,
come.
when they have parents that don't
Can't
travel
come.
with their kids,
Yeah.
and somebody's got to take them to the
Sure.
ER and, take care of ER.
I was just, trying to relate it to regular medical treatment. Like I can't go to my doctor and sign something when I take up with her and say, okay, you're going to be my doctor for the next however many, if something, I have to sign something every time a procedure or something is done. So I just didn't know how it translated to this. It makes perfect sense to me. And I think it's much better to do it this way. I'm just making sure it's appropriate.
One of the things we do in OB is we get a consent for delivery early on in the pregnancy, and it's good through the entire pregnancy. And I think maybe what we can do is set it up to say that those consents are good for the season of the athletic endeavor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, the physician's got to be there at the time.
And list those 3 procedures, the IV suturing and the dry needling. And that way that they know what they're signing and it's good for the season and they can opt out anytime they want.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right. So let's see.
And I just want to make sure in 4, is this in no way shall any additional of these,
Yeah, we need to take,
the additional therapeutic devices, or should it be modalities? Since you're talking about dry needling,
we need to
IV
take out
fluid.
one of the additionals.
Yeah, we have fixed that first, but yeah.
assuming that's fixed, is it a modality, a therapeutic modality, or is it a device,
Ooh,
or both?
both. It would be devices in both because you're talking about orthotic devices, taping, splinting, protective padding, casting.
Yeah, you'd have to define modality. And it's the modality is not necessarily just a machine.
No, well, we're gonna
modality.
define them as the IV therapy.
Right, because it's defined up top,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it says, let's see, physician approval in addition to regular. A physician may approve an athletic trainer to provide board-approved additional therapeutic modalities
Yeah.
such as dry needling, minor wound care and suturing, or the intravenous administration of 9% saline in accordance with the rules adopted by the board and based upon the following criteria.
we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Cool.
Modality is more general, isn't it? It could be a device,
Yeah.
but doesn't necessarily have.
Right. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
But is an orthotic or a DME, right? Is that a modality or is that a device?
Well, by definition, it's a durable medical equipment. So
It's a device.
Protective
Right.
device.
Or just say therapeutic device or modality. I mean, you can.
yeah, we can
Therapeutic
fix that
intervention?
language.
What
Yeah.
about interventions? Therapeutic.
Just say therapeutic device or modality, and that way it's going to be covered in both in the rules, because you want to kind of be consistent in the language with the rules.
Yes, sir. All right, so now I have underneath that, select, fabricate, and or customize prophylactic, assistive and restrictive devices, materials, and techniques for incorporation into the plan of athletic injury care. Including the
Where is
following-
that?
That's over on the left.
I'm sorry,
I thought that was,
this one.
yeah.
Right.
So that goes under the therapeutic modalities part?
I just kind of put that because I didn't know where to number, like how to number it.
Yeah.
Because in the original copy that I had, and I didn't have it underlined, it was all just kind of underneath each other.
Okay. But that is supposed to be part of the additional therapies and modalities?
Yes, ma'am. So I
It's
mean,
not
it's
part
fine
of
where it's at. If
No, that's what I mean. I think I stuck it under physical rehabilitation. I thought it was physical rehabilitation, but that's not it.
I mean, it's part of that.
No, but I mean, if it's more than that, if you need,
Yeah, because that would all go underneath the supervision of the physician. Right, but that's all under here.
Ms. Wilton, this is Clark. Would that be a definition of what we were trying to put into number right on the other side there about using devices or modalities? Could that be the definition of those things?
we don't presently have a definition for that, and we certainly could incorporate that as a definition.
Just the thought.
Right.
Good idea.
Y'all know better than me.
But no, that was just my lack of knowledge, because I didn't realize that you couldn't already do everything that's on the left-hand three. I
No,
thought
we
that
can.
was, huh?
We can.
But only if there's a physician there?
No,
No, ma'am. No, we can
No.
do that. It was just, I had it underneath what was on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
Just didn't know where to put it.
yeah.
It was something that we wanted added in, but like I said, we can do all of that currently.
this has to do more with a protective equipment, pre or post injury.
Oh, so
equipment.
not, okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's
All right.
more like,
Because
Yeah.
a kid might break his hand at halftime, doc looks at him, you x-ray him, and at least in the collegiate setting, x-ray him,
Stick a
you
splint
cast
on
him
it.
up, and he's
Yeah.
like, throw some padding on
Yeah,
it and let him
of
go back
course.
in and play.
right.
Okay. All right, I will put that back where you wanted it.
I mean,
That works.
it
No,
looks-
because where I have it now, I think it's literally under rehabilitation, and it's more than that. It's pre, post, and otherwise, right?
yeah, encompasses everything.
Yeah, so it's not specific to rehabilitation, so I need to move it. So I'll move it back where you had it. Okay,
And then the only other thing, and I couldn't figure this out last time, the locum tenens physician, I thought I was trying to say local physician, but
I took
actually,
that out. I took that out.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Latin.
so, right, it was, yeah, that's why I didn't know it. It wasn't Shalmatian.
I only know pig Latin. That's,
Because I took that out based on our discussion that said, by and large, everything has to be done according to the clinical practice guidelines, protocols, or standing orders of the supervising physician. But it may come to pass that, is there a doctor in the house? And somebody comes down to the field or whatever.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
can't supersede what your standing orders are. He can't tell you what to do. That's not what your supervising physician already has done. But it may come to pass that you may be working or assisted by some physician who's not your
Yes, ma'am.
supervising physician. So
yeah,
I took it out because I think what you already have covers you and them and the
Perfect.
circumstance.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure I clarified that because man, that threw me for a loop. That was the only two addition things that I had.
Okay. Well, as I say, I went through that transcript and I put in everything that y'all talked about except the Katie stuff. So I think you're good. I just go back and make sure y'all are more than welcome to look at it. What I can do is what we can do. I don't want to say I'm not hawking all this, but what can be done is that a clean copy of the way it would read if you adopted all of these things side by side with a copy of the existing, and y'all can just look back and forth and make sure, rather than trying to merge it in your brain as you're reading what's underlined, what's red, what's black, what's struck out,
Yes, ma'am.
unless you're happy with the way it is now.
Now, I do have one question,
Okay,
and it goes back to the Katie accreditation for the licensure
okay.
and how we thought we could do just BOC. Is there a way? Because you cannot receive your BOC certification anymore unless you come from a Katie accredited program. So,
I'm not sure that's accurate, BJ.
yes, sir.
the Board of Certification, and Patricia and I were at the meeting where the lady who runs the Board of Certification made it clear that they're now entering into agreements with foreign countries. And they might
sir.
not have a Katie accredited
Yeah,
person.
we touched on that
Right,
last
but-
time.
And JD had brought up how they have to meet certain standards, academic standards, and if they don't meet those standards, then the BOC would not credential them.
Well,
So you're
we
saying-
don't know what the BOC, remember, when you turn it over to the BOC, they make the decisions and not this board.
Yes,
You're
sir.
making an assumption that it will always stay that way. But understand that the Board of Certification has no beholden to this board and the Louisiana athletic trainers and the citizens of Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
So you tell us what you want and we'll do it, but understand that if we get run over with Sri Lankan ATs that are undercutting your salaries and putting you all out of work, it's not my fault.
Okay, so the main reason that we wanted to do that was to expedite the licensure process.
Well, we'll talk about, I'll show you some licensing data and you may want to put that on hold. And after we finish the rest of this, I got some licensing data to show you that there's not as big a problem as you think.
Well, and the other thing you need to do is go back to 3162, because remember y'all talked about changing the temporary permit situation and making it more or less automatic.
Yes, ma'am.
I put together some language on that and y'all need to decide if you like that or you want to change it or what have you.
Okay.
3162. C, yeah, so
Yeah.
I didn't know what to call it because we don't want to say, I mean, there could be lots of stuff wrong with the application, but essentially what we're saying is somebody whose application, satisfactory evidence of BOC certification, not otherwise demonstrably on his face ineligible certification, but they just don't have all their documents, whether it's the criminal background check or whatever. So that's how I incorporated it. But if that's not, if you want to say something different, by all means.
Let's see.
Now, the board, I will say this, the board has previously, and I'm talking about prior to COVID, that far back, was kind of getting away from these permits until we got the criminal background check. But you can ask the board to do anything and the board is going to we're going to present it the way you want it. Make sure you understand that we're not going to say to the board anything other than what you want. Y'all are going to have to be there to answer questions and that kind of stuff when the board finally looks at this.
This is Clark. Can you just please, since I'm on the board and will be hopefully helping guide some of these things, I surely want to help as much as I can. Can you revisit the issue here, Mr. Chair?
Okay, well, the issue is that BJ gets a lot of complaints about the licenses not getting done and they want to get people to work and all that kind of stuff. And I think, the complaints are there, but when we look at the hard data, if you want to look at the data now, we can. But again, the issue is what we could do to get people to work faster. Okay, the sooner they can, the better. And one of the things that's always been a holdup is the criminal background check. And in 2019, you all instructed us to stop issuing permits without a criminal background check. So if we're going to do that, we'd have to have a permit with a criminal background check and for the rest of the documents.
Time out then.
Yes.
So what my issue is, we have 14 other
License classes.
Right. So we don't do this for anyone else, correct?
At this time, no, sir, we do not.
I can see this is going to be a potential issue. I'm not saying we won't pass, but that means we would have to basically allow everyone else this exemption as well. We can't do for one and not do for all. And that may be problematic. Just to
But
let.
BJ, let's go and look at this. Let me show you some data. Please let me pull this up for you. Because I think you'll get a better idea of what we're trying to show you.
Well, I know one licensee applicant, I guess that's how you would say that. One person that is in the process of applying for the licensure started in May and still doesn't have her licensure because she's now required to turn in proof that she graduated from the Katie accredited program, her diploma.
That's been taken care of, quite frankly, but we'll talk about, let me show you the data. But that particular person has been taken care of.
I was told they still weren't licensed. And that was
I
today.
want to assure the board that this licensing agency, this athletic trainer is not the only one we've had problems. And this is systematic throughout the agency. It's getting better. But I can tell you, I get a lot of calls from doctors who have issues trying to get their license. It's better now than it has been, but I think that we're trying to work through those issues. I know Dr. Collada is.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's look at these numbers, okay?
Go ahead.
So I've taken out the names, so nobody can see the names. So here is applications started, okay? And in those applications that are started, okay, some people started their application on 7/30/2019 and have not finished it and paid their fees to get the license. So you have somebody that started in June of 2020, same thing, okay? So then we have people who start their license. There's somebody who started their license in 5/3, okay, and it was submitted on 8/23. So again, we didn't touch it from May until August because no ticky, no laundry. You don't pay your fee. We don't process it. Okay. All right. So then, but this has been submitted and it's in process. Okay. So these really, what you really have from item 9 to item 46 are the only people who are in process. And these two have been pre-approved and they'll probably get their license before the end of the week. But the rest of these are in process. When it's submitted, it means they're working it. Okay. Now, again, if you really look at these, there's very few of them that didn't, here's one from 6/13, okay? 6/3 pre-approved already. But again, if you move down here, most of these are very, very current. Here's one from 6/9/6. So again, these are all pretty current if you look at them.
Now, is this when the process started or when it ended? The when it started is on the left, right?
No. When you go onto our webpage and submit an application, you have to finally enter your credit card number and hit the click submit.
Okay.
And that's what makes us start running the clock.
Yes, sir.
So that's this time frame.
Okay,
So
so
this
on the left is
licensee-
application started. Like when they started their application,
Right.
they got online, but they didn't pay their fee until the one on the right.
Right.
Okay. I'm just
So
making
here's a
sure I got
lady
this
who, or a
correct.
person, here's a person, an AT who started on 6/5/20, didn't pay the fees and hit submit until 8/29. Okay.
Well, that's on the person.
Well, I know, but sometimes they call you and raise hell, and I can't
Whoa.
say anything to you about what's going on. I can show you this data though, okay? And it is, and we see this. Look, I had, believe it or not, I had doctors in this category right here. I had 1,100 of them. One doctor started their license, several doctors, not just one, started their license application 4 times and never closed it. So again, I can't be responsible if they don't hit submit because I can't work for free.
Yes, sir.
What kind of things, when you go online to register, they ask you some basic questions, and I haven't gone to it because no need for me to re-register other than my license, but new license. But why don't they pay their fee at the beginning? What kind of things are holding them up?
There's basic demographic data that they have to put in, and then when they close it, we start asking them for the documents. But
Okay,
we're not
so,
going to start chasing them down for the documents.
no,
until they pay.
I'm sorry, Doc, I'm confused because I don't know when should they pay their fee?
When they do their license, like their application, their initial application, you can pay right then and there.
But a lot of people hold off, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Because
Okay.
these are kids that, like, when you look at, let me see, a person that started their application on 5/3 of 21,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
And didn't pay the fee until 8/23/22.
3 months later.
No, that's
No,
a
no, no,
year
it's
and-
over a year.
A
Over
year
a
later.
year.
Oh,
Right, so
See, what
this
am I
is,
supposed to do with that?
right.
yeah.
But
Dan,
then
what
you
are
gotta-
the fees? Dr. Kalata, what is the fees for licensure, initial licensure? What's the
They're in
cost?
accordance with the law. Hold on a minute. I have to look it up, sir. Just give me a moment.
125, I think.
I think it is
125.
125.
Okay, seems
And
reasonable.
Yeah, right, but we got some kids that. Okay, so on number 21, it's 3/15/2022, right?
3/15/2022
Then the kid paid the fee on 8/13/2022.
at 11:19 a.m.
Right. So they probably got on after they passed their BOC. Or they went and took their BOC or their class, said, hey, I need you to get on and start filling out your application. So that way, whenever you pass your test, you're ahead of the game.
So how long does it take to find your grades? That's probably pretty immediate, right?
No, it still takes 3 weeks. 3
Really?
to 4 weeks to find out your BOC, yes.
Oh, I thought that
They
was
get an email.
instantaneous.
No, if they take it in March, they might not find out to the end of April.
Okay, so there's a hold up.
Right.
But that's not our holdup
But
now.
then,
No, I understand.
but just because you graduated BOC, right? You have your BOC. You still haven't met the requirements because you hadn't graduated yet.
Okay, so
So
you're
then you-
you're filing for a license before you
Right.
finish school.
Right. And so what happens is, and Dr. Kalata had brought this up in a previous conversation, is an athletic trainer may have the EDU address, right? It's tied
hmm
tied to them at the school. When they started that application, they were still in school. Well, when they finished it, they out of school, school cuts off your email. Well, everything the board has is going back to that EDU address because they didn't go and change the information when they submitted the payment.
Right.
So a lot of it is on the applicant. But
And I
will-
know the state police is a big holdup
Yes.
with because that's even for all
The
of
teachers.
the teachers that are trying to get certified around the state. I know there's a big push on that, but there's a lot of teachers who can't get jobs right now because they're holding up. Everybody's clearance has got to go through the state police. So,
That's a lot of, is there any education on that website that tells these young people that, that the process of completing their license requires payment? In other words, just starting the application does not mean that there will be any
We can
movement.
certainly put it in red at the beginning and in orange at the end. I can do it any way you want.
No,
I
but
can-
it seems maybe there's some misunderstanding, education, some clarification, maybe help.
Rod, we're happy to do that for you.
No, I'm just throwing out. some
it-
ideas.
I don't know
There
which
is
one that.
some, it may not stand out. The problem is that you have, sometimes you get alert fatigue, but nonetheless, I would say to you that if you were applying for anything, if you don't pay your fees and hit the buttons that says submit, you might not think you're going to get it, but we'll happily put a language at the beginning and a language at the end, and that's unmistakable.
So I know at our institution, I try to get in front of our athletic training graduates. This year will be the first year of our master's graduates. So I asked the program director, hey, let me get in front of them and explain the application process. I know Dave has been asked in the past to go to LSU, but we have the different athletic training advisory committee members all around the state. Alex could go to McNeese. Well, does McNeese have the program?
Not anymore.
Okay. But we could go and talk to these master's programs in the state and try to help facilitate that as well.
Well, my thought was, what percentage of there's a spreadsheet there with 35 or so people that didn't finish. What percentage does that represent of all the people that actually did it right? I mean, there's got to be hundreds that did it right, correct?
Well, let me say this to you. When they do it right, they get to pre-approved status and then they get off of this list as soon as we give them the license.
Okay.
This is the stuff that's in process. This is the stuff that BJ gets called about all the time. Okay? The fact of the matter is we have, and I can show you the stats on how many people have licenses, but I'm not sure that that's really the issue, because the issue really is the process, the time to complete the work. And this is,
Dr. Collada, do you
Yeah.
have any data on when they actually pay versus how long it takes to get their license once they have paid for?
Okay,
for
well, again, so you can see all of the people here in the submitted, has been submitted, paid. This is the date that, for example, that number 13 paid on 9/1/22 at 4:48 p.m. So that license is in process. Okay. Now, once they get to pre-approved status, they're on Aloma's desk to be taken care of. And if there's no problem, she grants the license. If there are problems, she sends it back. But these have not been changed, so I anticipate these will be submitted very soon for licensing.
So my
Okay.
question is, how long does it take? So if I pay today, does it take a month, 6 weeks, 2 months? How long does it take for me to get my license if everything is in order? Is there a way that we can help speed up the process?
The thing is that it's really dependent upon when they send it, when they send the information we request. They have to have the signed attestation page. We can't do that electronically yet. You know, we're trying to figure a way out of that, but we haven't figured it out yet. You know, the issue is the criminal background check. Because here's the thing, we could have finished everything that's needed to be done. But if they haven't sent us the fingerprints and paid us the fees that we have to send to the state police, we can't grant them the license, can't even start granting them the license. So there's so many factors involved. It's just hard for me to tell you exactly based upon this data, because BJ want to know, you know, process time. And these are the only ones out there that have not been, that are out there in the waiting to get granted licenses. This is only, you know, we got about 36 people waiting.
So to revisit our 90-day thing, when would that 90 days start if we have,
Date
That's-
submitted. So
so
When the
submitted
payment
means
submitted.
they paid a fee.
but I think Dr. Clark brought up a great point. If no one else receives a temporary permit,
Yeah.
how are we gonna get one? And the only reason that was in there, because that was in the original rules and regs from way back when.
Mhm.
We were just trying to help Dr. Collada's office any way we could, speed up the process. But looking at the data that Dr. Collada has here, when you have a person that started their paperwork, let's see,
Take this one.
right? Yeah. January 13th, 2022, but didn't
months.
pay the fee for 6 months. Then that's,
I think it may be that they don't know to pay it right then. Is
That's
that-
what I'm saying. That's what I was asking about is,
but look
when
at
did
all of
the-
these 5-3, 5-3, 5-3, 5-6, 5-9, 5-20, right? But they didn't pay their fees until August.
right,
September.
what's making them hold up paying the fee?
Can they not afford it? They don't have a job to pay for it? I don't know. That's what we need to try to figure out.
Well,
is
they have to have an upcoming job if they're applying in this state.
But if you had this many people applying on the same day, it's got to be in a classroom setting. That's what I think. The program director's like, hey, everybody get on and start today.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
Well, if you got the teachers then and not telling them to finalize the application, pay the fees and submit, what can we do about it?
I think it would be a good idea for this committee to make contact with all of our states. Of course, it's not just our state, right?
Right, it's kids, and that's the
It could
problem.
be
You
kids
got
coming
kids
from
that
outside
come out of
Louisiana.
state. And that's why you have some of those ones that they haven't even paid a fee, is because, hey, I'm gonna offer a kid in, say, California a job, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I need you to get online. I need you to fill out the application. I need you to pay the fee
Yeah,
and do it. Well, then you have some kids that are getting offered grad schools, and that's why I think you're seeing the March dates. Hey, we want you to come here, we want you to be a GA, or we want you to be an intern or whatever. Need you to start the application process. Never told them pay your fee. And unfortunately today, we get a lot of kids that you got to walk them through everything. Well, you told me to start the application. You didn't tell me to pay the fee. I didn't have a job yet. I didn't have money. I
Well,
couldn't pay
yeah.
the fee.
I mean, think about it. Most kids,
I
they're
don't-
not
I
gonna
wouldn't have
part
that
with
money.
any money until they
Right,
have to.
I mean,
I like the
remember-
idea of having that statement at the top that says,
Yeah,
We'll
you
fix
won't
it.
move forward until you pay.
We'll
yeah.
put it on
this
everybody.
Process will not take place until we receive payment.
yes, your process will not start
Yeah, well, that's
until we receive payment and go from there. Now, I do have a question about number 31, Dr. Van.
Okay,
So this person started on 6/2, paid their fee on 6/21.
right.
I know you can't talk about that personally, like the person's name or anything. But man,
They might be one of the ones that is missing documentation
Yeah.
or has a yes answer or something like that.
right? Because I know some people now, again, granted, this is what I am getting in emails, and Dr. Collada knows, and poor Miss Phyllis, she knows as well. You get these emails, these very disgruntled emails from people, and they're stating that through this entire process, the last month, they've turned in everything. Sometimes they've had to resubmit it because it wasn't received or whatever. And then, I don't know, probably a month ago, they all got emails stating that they needed to have the Katie approved, when their program was Katie approved,
Transcripts.
accredited, and then they needed to have the copy of the diploma and stuff. But previously, they weren't asked any of that when they were in their process. And
Well,
that's-
here's the thing. You're sometimes making a case out of one particular, and translating it to everybody. And I think that's a bad sample size to use one case. But I can tell you that if you want specifics, I will get you the specifics on case 31, okay? It may take me a few minutes. I'll drop out the meeting, get you the specifics on 31. Y'all be talking about something else. Pat will lead the discussion, and I'll come back in a few minutes with the date on case 31. How's that?
Before you go, Dr. Van, it wasn't one case, it was 5. 5 different people emailed me all about the same exact thing.
Okay, as I've told you before, A, it's best if they email me. B, you can send me their names and I'll address them individually. But again, in a public meeting, I cannot discuss the individual's issues.
I know.
But if you have, I don't know which one of these are there in this, I don't know the name. I don't want to share the names with you right now. Again, unless you want to go into executive session.
Well, I
and
was
I'm
asked
happy to do
by
that
the
too.
applicants not to put their names out because
The
they feel
applicant,
they're being
we can,
retaliated against.
we can talk. I can't tell you what's going on with an applicant, but I can tell the applicant what's going on with the application.
Well, I think.
That's why they need to contact us.
Yeah, I think,
I instruct them to do that. I instruct them to email you and Miss Phyllis when they have these concerns. But
But
they
I think-
feel
yeah, I
they're
think-
being retaliated against by the licensor, by the LSBME.
well,
I'm just-
then that you can assure them that, if you'll pardon me for saying so, ain't nobody got time for that. And none of this is personal. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. But when you say 5 different people had the same issue, that sounds to me like something we should investigate. Are we missing the boat somewhere such that it's a repetitive thing that keeps happening over and over that is in our control? Are we coming back after the fact and asking them for something that we didn't ask them on the front end, or didn't let them know on the front end that they would ultimately have to present to us? That makes sense to me as something to look into. But
That's why I brought it up. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was different occasions, and it was different people in different parts of the state, in Ruston, in Thibodeau, one's here in Lafayette.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I
of
mean,
it,
we-
like,
we-
wait, what
we-
the heck?
We
That's
got no
what I got.
problem holding our hand up to say if we need to make something more clear, or if we need to, if we're not saying something on the front end and then coming back and it feels like an ambush to them, or or just moving the goalpost every time they think they've got to the finish line and we move it, then yeah, that's on us. We need to fix that. But I promise you, there's no one individual that has done everything right, but just because they called a couple times because they were impatient, now somebody's got their picture up on the wall and says, don't process this guy till there's literally nothing else to do. Nobody's doing that.
This is Dr. Rod Clark. You know, one of the things you could do, Mr. Chair, is have some of this for executive session. If you would request, that I'm sure Dr. Collada would comply. If you wanted to have, say, anything over 30 days, be given to you as a list, and you could look to see what were the barriers that were causing this individual not to become licensed. You could review those and track those yourself if there was a yes answer, et cetera, and so you categorize that for you, and that could be done, and you could view those in executive session, and maybe you could have some remedies. At least you would have the board controlling some of that, and you won't feel so helpless on some of these issues.
But understand, the information you learn about specific applicants would have to remain confidential. You then could only address
Right,
concepts and not specific license issues.
right.
That will be an executive session, correct?
Yes, sir. So, and
Bound by
I think what you're saying is, sorry, Dr. Clark.
That's fine. Just say it's all bound by confidentiality when you do that. But at least you would have a ability to look at it and maybe make some remedies if you felt necessary to do that. Thank you.
So, Dr. Van, could you put together something for us in the cases of people that started the application process or paid their fees, like the person at the top, number 9? They
That's
started in
pre-approved and it's
January.
waiting to should grant the license. But so
Right.
by the time we meet next time, that'll be an issue that's gone.
Right, but I just wanted to see like why.
Okay, hold on. All right, just do me a favor. Y'all talk. I'm going to disappear for a few minutes. I'm going to come back with the specifics on that specific case, and then you can talk about it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm going to disappear. Pat, you lead the rest of the meeting till I come back. How's that? Okay, let me go get the data.
So I guess we're at the point where we
can-
need to decide whether you want to go forward with the idea of what we were talking about last time, sort of an automatic temporary permit, as opposed to the discretionary temporary permit, which goes to the board and it's completely at their discretion. Because as Dr. Collada mentioned last time, those they do tend to be few and far between, only because if you don't keep those to extraordinary circumstances, then you've basically eviscerated whatever rule you had to begin with. So if you want to proceed with that, you pays your money and you takes your chance. You can, and if you can justify why you think athletic trainers should be able to do this and not
Nobody
the
else.
disciplines. Yeah.
Right. I mean, to me,
Uh-huh.
I think that if no other profession, underneath the LSBME control has this, then I don't see how we can have it.
And if we can come back next month and having done the background research and gotten a little bit of the extra data that you and Dr. Clark both talked about, and we figure out that it's just a series of individual things versus a systemic problem. You know what I'm saying? Like it's on the applicant versus the agency. If
Yes,
something's
ma'am.
on the agency, we need to fix it. But if it's just a matter of individual applicants and gaps in their submissions for whatever reason, and And the other point was really true too. It is 36 people, but I frankly don't know how many athletic trainer applications we get in a year, in a month, whatever. So if we get 50 and 36 of them are still pending, that's not good. If we get 3,600 and 36 of them are pending, I don't feel bad about our efficiency so much.
That was
Okay.
kind of my point too.
Yeah, that was your point exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
Okay.
additional data point we can gather before next time.
Okay, so could we also request, and I know this is a lot of data information, but the number of applicants per year?
Sure. Well,
We
I'm
can get
sure
all that
we
for you.
already
And let me
track
say,
them.
Steve, I found out what happened about the one you asked. So while it's that particular person wants a name that's different than his certificates on his documents that he sent us. He wants a name change, or her, whatever the name is. I don't really know the sex of that person. So, but that name change has got to be done by a court order. So let's say I want my license, instead of reading Vincent Anthony Collada Jr., I wanted to read BJ Collada Jr. Okay.
This is Rod. I'm not an attorney, but I think any discussion of any of these things should be an executive session, because there are probably not too many people out there with this circumstance. So I'm just being overly cautious. I don't know what Ms. Wilton thinks, but that's what I would do.
Well,
I
but put it this way, we actually do have that more than you would think. We do get a good handful of applicants who want a license issued in something other than their legal name that's on all the rest of their
For a
documentation.
lot of females, I mean, it's always happened where
Yeah.
there's a marriage and there's a name change,
But
I'm concerned about litigation, so we want to be sure. I may be overly cautious.
yeah, no, that's a very good point, and very good to err on the
Good
side of
pickup.
caution. But having said all that, I really think at this point, we can gather some more data for you, give you a bigger picture. But I think that as the more we go along, I'll be frank and tell you that I think it's going to mitigate against giving you an automatic temporary permit, and as opposed to being in favor of you, because there's nothing unique to athletic trainers. If there was something unique to athletic trainers that was holding up your process specifically, I think you could go make a good argument. But if it's just the vicissitudes of ordinary paperwork and electronic processing and so forth, we can make our application documentation, we can make it more clear. But it looks to me, like BJ said, it looks to me like a lot of these people start it and they have a reason. And heck, we don't even know that all these people are in state. This may be somebody who decided after they graduated that, they didn't want to be an athletic trainer after all, or they wanted to go to law school instead or something. And so they didn't complete
or
the
they went to
process.
another state.
Yeah.
Right, they got a
So we
job.
just don't know the ones that didn't pay. Now, the ones that submitted, we need to track the time from everything is in place. There is not one more thing that individual can do. And that how long from that point till the time we're giving licenses out.
Yes, ma'am. That's definitely what we'd like to do. So I think we need a vote, if I'm correct, on whether or not we want to remove the temporary permit part.
Yes, or you can vote on everything except everything excluding the temporary permit part. If you're happy with all the other rules and the way that we've incorporated everything else that you wanted to do, or you can just vote, or you can just tell me, we don't want that temporary permit thing, come back next time with a final product that doesn't include that.
Okay, so how would this affect us going to the board to get the rules in? So if we don't have, I guess, the clean copy today, would that affect us going to the board at the end of the month to get the rules and regs?
Your motion would be something along the lines of approve the rules as presented in draft, except removing the additional temporary permit language. I think it's 31. something, yeah, 3162C. So, and then, giving Dr. Collada and myself the ability to, make any, correct any typographical errors and clean up clean up any duplicate words and stuff like that, and run it by one or two of y'all, to say, yeah, we love it. On behalf of our group, we've been deputized to say we love this.
Ooh, that's a long motion.
I know. But
Can
you
I-
get the idea. You get-
Can I just say what she said and we can go with that?
Motion to accept that motion.
Yes, motion. to accept the motion. Is that legal?
I make a motion to the,
Yeah, okay, make a motion to approve the draft rules as presented, deleting the section about 90-day temporary permits, and authorizing minor typographical and formatting changes.
I'll make
Wait.
that motion.
I have a question though, before we
Do
make
I-
the vote.
Do I
Did
have
we
to?
finish looking at all of this? We were supposed to, about documentation, we didn't go. we were
Yep,
supposed to get some
documentation is in there. That's number 8 on page 11.
Because BJ just said Miss Patricia was gonna get with us on information on this, but it doesn't
Right.
say what it was.
Well, that's what we discussed last meeting, that we would have the copy that they were working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite get there. If you want to wait till next month and then have it.
That's what
approved in
I'm saying.
October-
We got a missing piece here.
I mean, the language is in there now. You can go to page 11, section 8. It's right there, but. And all it says is maintain, what does it say, Dr. Colon?
Maintaining notes, records, and or other necessary and appropriate documentation of an athlete's medical conditions, injuries, and treatment.
Right, we didn't designate what level of, you leave that up to the,
Right,
position.
that's why I just said appropriate and necessary, because I
Appropriate
think
and
that's gonna
necessary.
vary.
I mean, I'm not gonna write down the hangnails I saw. today.
Right, right.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
I am, but I have one, sorry, I have one more question. The old guy.
Why
get to
don't
think
you
about
be
it.
the second reviewer? Why don't you and BJ, you be the second reviewer?
All right, but I just want to ask a question, because it relates to the documentation and the new applicants.
Sure.
Do we have state reciprocity with other states?
There is
Technically,
something
no.
I saw something in one of the, in the rules. I didn't see which
Yeah.
number it was, but it says reciprocity.
It says license reciprocity, yeah.
What does it say?
It says. An individual who possesses a current unrestricted license to practice as an athletic trainer issued by the medical licensing authority of another state, the District of Columbia, or a territory of the United States shall be eligible for licensure in this state if the applicant meets all of the qualifications for licensure specified in 3107 of this chapter and satisfies the procedural and other requirements specified in this chapter. So if they're a carbon copy of y'all and they're already licensed somewhere else, they get a license without more.
Okay, so here's an issue. So Texas, for the longest time, only did state licensure. They didn't recognize BOC. It was Texas licensure. So there's tons of athletic trainers in Texas running around with just a Texas licensure.
That don't qualify under that statute. I mean, that
Right.
rule. Yeah.
So we have athletic trainers here in Louisiana. There's a handful that are just licensed athletic trainers. They don't have BOC. But they can still practice in Louisiana because they're licensed and they maintain the requirements for licensure. But if they would ever leave the state and let their licensure lapse, then they would not be able to reapply for a licensure here in Louisiana. Right?
They have to have a current unrestricted license.
All right. But if you leave another state, that had required BOC certification, and this has happened in a lot of older athletic trainers are thinking the same thing because the BOC is getting very expensive and not necessarily feeling like you're getting your money's worth out of the BOC. I was licensed, 40 years ago by the BOC. Now I do keep my records through them, and it's a lot easier to do my CEUs and just translate them over to the state board. But there are some states that allowed the same rules that we had, but people have given up their BOC certification because they're licensed by their state. Okay, it's active, it's current, it's there in their state. So they come to Louisiana. Do we have reciprocity?
If they have a degree in athletic training from a Katie accredited program or a.
You know, we're talking about people that have, in 20 and 30 years. They're already licensed before, it was before the Katie
Oh, I see. Okay.
requirements. But they passed the exam, they got a BOC. And they've been
Um,
a current for, 10, 20 years. But they gave up paying that licensing, that CEU company, and they're getting their CEUs otherwise. And so they just said, I'm going to divorce my state's licensing me. So why do I have to pay this other agency as well?
Yeah,
Right.
your current reciprocity rules do not read that way. It says you have to meet the 3107 requirements.
Okay. And it says BOC and then
Correct.
Katie, whatever. Okay.
Or the equivalent. Yeah.
Okay.
This is an interesting point. This is Clark again, very ignorant of all this. Ms. Wilson, could you read that reciprocity again for me? Because it sounded like it sounded like they had to reapply. It wasn't like it was really truly reciprocity.
No, it's not. That's what that was what Dr. Collada's point was. Yeah, you have it, but not really.
It's like you are eligible, quote unquote. Doesn't mean that you're going to get a license.
Yeah, you still got to go through the paperwork
Right.
in your state. I
Right. It
understand
says
that.
you're eligible for licensure if you meet all the qualifications and you satisfy the
But
procedural.
anyone would. So it's not really reciprocity because anyone meeting all the qualifications would get a license, regardless if you're from another state or from wherever.
Yeah.
So it's not really. That's my point on that. I don't know if it's correct or not.
So
No, you're right.
my license, say I'm leaving Louisiana and I'm going somewhere else. Well, I'm licensed in Louisiana, but when I go to Missouri, they can tell me, no, show me all your credentials again. Show me your college degree. Show me
And I think that's what we're doing, sir. I think it's the same in this state, actually. Sounds like.
Okay, so I have a question for you, because I would fall under this, and I'm pretty sure Alex would too. Dave, I know for sure you would. JD Donovan, pretty much everybody on our board, maybe not Laney, but none of us went to Acadia approved accreditation. They didn't have that then.
Right.
This
We have
did,
a
we're all
provision for
BOC
that.
approved because we all
have a
tested
provision
out.
for that in the law.
okay, so would a person from another state fall under that provision?
Okay, let me see if let me start a screen share again and I'll show you what the law says. Hold on a minute.
I'm just trying to make sure we're covering all avenues, because like everything else, there's a shortage, quote unquote, of athletic trainers. And there are some athletic trainers, some older athletic trainers that are trying to come back, but they don't meet qualifications.
Okay, so this, I think, is really what you're talking about in the law. And it talked about any person who's certified on the effective date of this subsection shall be issued a license by the board without meeting requirements of subsection A upon submission of a renewal license application and payment of a renewal application fee to the board. After a period of 1 year from the effective date, no athletic trainer shall be licensed pursuant to the provisions of this. So I
Yeah.
think what they're trying to say is we grandfathered a bunch of people in B1, but a year later, if you hadn't gotten in, then you're not going to get grandfathered in.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and the reciprocity statute doesn't refer to this at all. It only refers to 3107. So
So would we need to change it to this?
You'd have to change the law. I mean, basically, you got to understand, this is from 2014. So it's basically, this section is obsolete as of today.
Okay,
This goes back to 2014. So if by 2015, you didn't do this, you're not going to get in.
And even if you let it lapse, you were grandfathered in, you did work as athletic trainer, but then you got out.
Well, we
Let's-
have, that's so-called reissuance, and we have rules for reissuance as well. After so many years, you can't do it, but every couple of years, you pay a little more money,
Yeah, there's a way back in for those.
but not eternally. But yes, there is a
No,
way. in.
okay. I'm not coming back, but I'm just.
But what I'm trying to say is there is a way back in, but it's
Yeah.
not for an eternity.
Yeah, just
It's time limited.
Just to talk the issue of what BJ said, there are, a lot of openings and they're trying to pull some people back in. So,
right, and there's a couple of instances where there's athletic trainers that might be licensed in their current state, but let their BOC certification go.
Yeah.
Different statuses, what have you, but they still have their licensure. Then they were trying to come back to this state. They're trying to come to the state. By this, we're saying that they don't meet the qualifications.
Well, that's what this says. I mean, this is the law now. This is not our rules. This is the
Right.
law. Okay. So if y'all want to change the law and you want to ask the board to help you change the law, you do that. Okay. But again, I think the key here is that we can't, in other words,
So,
we do these rules and laws to protect the public. How are we going to assure the public that they are protected by letting these people in who have not worked in years, given up their board's BOC certification, and now all of a sudden they want to come to work here? How do we know they know anything?
I see that.
yeah, so basically, like you said, B1 and 2 are null and void. And they have been since 2015, if I'm reading this
Well,
correctly.
basically, Section B disappeared a year after this was passed in 2014. So
'Cause I
technically,
know-
we really don't have reciprocity.
I definitely know that was not the intent.
I mean, we can explore a more liberal reciprocity statute. That was a big function of the legislature this year. And we can look at making it, as I say, a little easier to be recognized, but it will have to have, Dr.
You're breaking up, Pat. Basically, what Pat's saying is we're going to have some basis for making sure that we're protecting the public by granting these reciprocal licenses.
Absolutely, 100%.
I would like us to at least look into something like that because,
The strictest or the ones that have none. And then sort of what a middle ground might be that this board would accept. That bridges the gap between no reciprocity at all and carte blanche for
right. I don't
unqualified
see
people.
carte blanche. I understand that. But if there was
Yeah.
some way with someone who was in good standing in their state, working at a Division I university, their head coach leaves and they want to take the whole staff with them to go to the new university and there's a hole up.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me say this
Yeah.
to you. If you want us to work on that, we can. And of course, it's going to take some time, or we can try and get something together for you for next month.
Yeah,
And
we can borrow from that. We can borrow from the language we tried to use for Kathy's bill when we talked about minimum
Right.
standards, that kind of thing. Yeah.
we have some stuff, but again, I think you're going to have to sit down and what we can do is present you a clean document next month with this in it. As you add things to it, once we get this rule process started, we don't want to we want to get it done so they can move through.
Right.
Right, I mean, I
You know,
think,
this is Clark again. I want to give you all a little bit of kind of an anecdote. If this was a physician who's in good standing in his state and's practiced for 40 years, is not board certified, and wants to come into this state and get a medical license, he can't. Unless he meets certain criteria. He either has to take an exam or get board certified. And am I wrong, Van?
No, sir, you're correct.
So there are some minimal standards that to protect the public, I think, as being a board member, again, giving my perspective, that they will have to be included in this. And that's up to you guys to decide what they are. But I just want to give you a little anecdote. Thank you.
If the other state that the physician's coming from, or athletic training, since we're talking about that, has the same requirements, BOC certified, and CUs, all that sort of thing, would that be something to live with? I mean, if it's just apples to apples.
Well, if you got apples to apples, you meet the current standards of reciprocity. He would still have to have a current criminal background check. That's the only other limiting thing.
I mean, would that be a quicker process probably, or?
Well, again, he should have all a packet of stuff, and he can just send it to us, make it quicker for us.
Right. So he could get his state to import that information. That would expedite the process.
Again, the burden
I mean, I don't know
of
if there's any
presenting the
handshake.
documentation, really, I don't think you should transfer, just as a matter of course, I don't think you should transfer the responsibility to present documents to us to another state agency from a different state. It should still be the responsibility of the applicant to give us the information.
I was just wondering if there was any handshake thing between states that, we could look at.
There is something called an interstate medical compact for doctors. There's a compact coming for PAs. There's a compact coming. Do you all have on your radar at the national organization a compact for ATs?
BJ, I've never heard of that.
no, sir, not that I know of. Alex might.
Do you want to explain what a compact is? Maybe not everyone's aware of what it is.
Basically, a compact is a state agreement with a licensing credentialing body called a medical compact but an interstate compact, where there is specific language that creates a separate pathway to licensing that the state adopts. And for example, in MDs, there are 9 data points and a current criminal background check. So let's say I'm licensed in Mississippi and I want to get a Louisiana license through the compact. I pay a fee to the compact. They send a notice to Mississippi that says, put together the data points and a current criminal background check. They issue what's called a letter of qualification. That person then, the letter of qualification is then sent to Louisiana. We then look at the 9 data points, the criminal background check, grant the license, and then on the back end, come in and fill in all the holes that might exist. For example, your statute says that you have to have a permit to live and work in the United States to be a citizen. We would grant the compact license, and then if the person is not a citizen or does not have permission to live and work in the United States, we would revoke the license. But nonetheless, that's the way compacts work. They have a limited number of data points that are standardized to the compact people that everybody agrees to by statute in the law. And that cannot change. You can't change the language. So once that's there.
And they're on the high end of the spectrum. If you were to
Cost.
take a cross section of the states, the standards are a little bit higher. Some states don't require board certification, the compact does, et cetera.
See, we don't require board certification for be licensed as a physician, but to be licensed by the compact, you have to be board certified.
what good would that do us?
You asked about speeding up the process.
I mean, it does speed it up. That would-
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Colada, I have a question about the law. Obviously, I know we can't do anything about it, but as the law reads, if I wasn't in Louisiana and I tried to apply for licensure, and I wouldn't qualify.
Well, BJ, again, these are the requirements that preceded my presence on the board, preceded my involvement in the legislature in these matters. And again, I mean, these are the things that you all have had in the law, you know, for example, I'm showing you right now, the qualifications go back to 2014.
Right, because I was involved with helping write this, and it was our understanding that it would be from this date. So like, that was the cutoff, 2014. So anybody before 2014, if you went to school before 2014, you were still able to get your licensure.
From a state,
Sorry, you broke up, Ms. Patricia.
I was saying, even if you were from a different state.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Well, you know, BJ, again, I've fooled around in the legislature enough in my life to be able to say this with all comfort. What people put in is not what comes out.
Right. And that's
Okay.
obviously
And
what we're
again-
seeing here. So we need to really look at this as a state organization. Because any one of us on the advisory committee right now doesn't meet the qualifications if we're in another state to try to come to Louisiana.
Well, again,
That's,
you know,
that just
this
blows my
is the
mind.
wisdom of the legislature, and they're going to decide. Okay.
Right.
and-
'cause-
I think
Wow.
the key is once you have your license, don't let it expire until you are sure you're done.
Well, right. No,
Um,
and that's
no,
what
but-
we had talked about, but
But BJ, as long as we're BOC certified still, we were in another state, but we BOC.
right.
Is it
right.
BOC and or Katie, or BOC and Katie?
No,
It's BOC and a degree in athletic training from a Katie accredited program or such comparable degree accepted by the BOC and approved by the board.
okay, so that's where we would qualify.
That's that
That's
and
where
is
we
a
would
killer.
qualify. Because it was an approved degree that was accepted because you have BOC.
Okay, well then you could come back in.
All right, so that, I'm just making sure, because man, you had me confused for a second. I was like, man,
It's there, it's highlighted.
I was just like, oh man, I'm about to be in trouble if I ever went somewhere else. But all right, so I think we need to get back on track as far as the rules. I think we need to look at an actual clean copy. I know we don't want to drag this out any longer than we have to, but I think we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we don't compare, right, what was in the past to what a clean copy would look like, and it's going to delay it another month before we approve. Do you agree?
I think we gotta be clean.
Yeah, we gotta see the clean, everything in writing.
All right, and do you want us to work on some language for reciprocity included in this endeavor?
No, because then it won't be clean. We'll have to
All right.
save that for another day.
All right.
But what do you want to do about the 90-day permit? You want that out, correct?
I think again, the whole reason that was put in there was to help expedite the processes of getting people be able to hold a job, have their job while they're trying to gather some additional requirements that weren't key. But I don't see how we can have a temporary permit in our rules and regs if no one else has it.
Now, look, the board frequently makes, and it did make sweeping exceptions to that when we know that, when, for example, when there was nobody being able to get a criminal background check. We issued permits for people, and then pending the criminal background check, we granted it at the beginning of COVID. And it was a year and a half before we actually went back to requiring a criminal background check. So again, while we do make those exceptions from time to time, I think it's something that ought to be done very sparingly and ought to not be based in the rules themselves.
So could you just put at the discretion of the board? Temporary permits issued at the discretion of the board?
Well, that's already in there.
It's
Oh.
already at the discretion of the board.
So,
Anyone can ask for a temporary permit or a waiver.
Waiver. Anybody can
Okay.
ask for a
But
waiver of
right
the
now,
rules.
but right now it's 30 days. Would you like to change it to 90 days?
If that's
Keep
the
it
average it's
completely
taken,
up the board.
I think you keep it as everyone else. Dave?
no, I'm just saying, I don't know what of course, we saw on the list, those are really not, I don't know what is the average amount of time from somebody who pays at the beginning to the time they get the paper?
And that's what Dr. Collada is going to work for.
And if he works on it, it's 30 days or 60, I think that's all we could ask for.
Okay, so back to Miss Patricia's nomination or motion. So motion, I don't even know how to,
I don't even think you have a motion at this point.
No.
If you want to,
Let's see a clean
you
copy.
just want us to.
Yeah, we're
come-
not accepting
Yeah, you want us
as
to-
is right now. So
yeah, so
Correct.
let's,
Correct.
Just schedule another meeting and we'll come back to you.
all right. So we're going to
And
meet
in the
again in October.
meantime, and in the meantime, I will do some research on reciprocity for you, not for this rules section, but so that you'll know.
Thank you.
And just remember, you're gonna run to the end of the queue on rules.
Yes, sir.
When you start over again, I got other people that are ahead of you. We get this in process and then we'll add it whenever we can.
Okay, so if we don't adopt it today and we table it to next month, which I think we have to do in the best interest of our profession, is to look at a clean copy and make sure we have everything in there we want. How long?
I can only think of one other advisory committee between now and next month that is poised to realistically make a vote on rule changes. So you will delay yourself 30, 45 days, but not terribly.
How about the 17th? Monday the 17th,
but
Of
to me,
October.
October.
Monday, the 17th.
Would it be at this time of day?
It's fine with me. It's open, wide open now.
Dr. Stewart.
He
That's
gone.
He's not on anymore? No, he's still there.
17th is
Monday.
Monday.
okay. I'm okay.
I'm okay.
3 o'clock, you want to start earlier?
Alex, how does that work out for you if we started out?
I could start earlier if it's better for everybody.
What time?
2:30?
Okay,
17th?
it works for me.
Can we tentatively set the next meeting, October 17th at 2:30?
Okay, so we're gonna block it out. Now, let me ask you this. Who's gonna make the final decision and when?
On what? On the meeting?
If we say tentatively schedule it,
Oh,
when are you gonna finalize it?
I'll finalize it with Jacinta as soon as possible.
Okay,
I just gotta double check with her. I try to make sure we have a quorum
right. We
Yeah.
got to make sure Dr.
before
Stewart's
we
on. or Dr.
schedule the
Levin.
meeting.
Okay.
I
Well,
just-
whenever you get it scheduled, we'll make sure you have a clean copy, finalized draft, clean copy at least a week ahead of time.
Perfect. So we would get it the week
The
before
10th,
that
I
meeting.
guess, whatever
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, that would give us time to go through everything and expedite the meeting and hopefully get,
Yeah, it's my bad. It kind of snuck up on me. I apologize for that.
look, I understand. I appreciate it. Okay,
Bad
so,
law is worse than no law at all, so it's better that we put it off.
Agreed.
I was told that by a lobbyist 30 years ago, so I know.
All right, well, we'll get it set up. Anything else y'all want to address today?
Dr. Colada, is there any public comment?
Let me check.
Because we've discussed a lot.
Let me check.
I don't see any, Dr. Van.
There's none in my junk email. There's none in my inbox.
Mine
No, there's
either.
nothing.
Okay, at this time, make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Dr. Stewart, hey, are you available on the 17th at 2:30?
what day of the week is that?
The
Monday.
Monday.
What day? The 19th? Is that what you said?
17.
17th.
Oh, we're next month.
Yes, sir.
No. I will be at a meeting in Atlanta on the 17th. Sorry.
Well, I guess we definitely can't do that then.
That's 3:30 Atlanta time.
Uh,
The next day we can meet.
yeah, what's the next day you have available?
Well, I mean, right now, let me look at the schedule here. Okay, October 17th, this was a tentative date. Right now, the 18th is available. Greg, how long are you at the meeting?
It's 2 days. I'd be coming back on Tuesday. I'm good. I can do something on the 24th.
Hang on, let me make sure. That's a board meeting day. No, we can't do that. That's an all-day meeting for the board. I'm sorry, I won't be able to, none of us will be able to be there. We'll all be with the board. What about getting it to the agenda and everything else for the October meeting? Okay,
Yeah, we'd like to try to meet before that so we could get it hopefully to the board for the,
Is there a day before the 17th?
I'm looking at it right now. What about October the 12th, Wednesday?
October 12th.
Yeah, I can probably do something on that Wednesday afternoon.
Perfect. Want to do October 12th? 2:30?
Time, Dr. Khan.
2:30?
Will that work, Alex?
Yeah, that works.
I'm
Perfect.
in.
All right. Yeah, Dave, you definitely in. All right, so we have a meeting date, October 12th, 2:30. We will get a copy of the clean rules the week before. And Dr. Colada, would you be able to provide us the data the week before the meeting as well?
Okay, if you give me the exact data you asked for, I'll do my best. But what I'd like not to have happen is, oh, well, maybe we want to know this. I don't want us to be paralyzed by analysis paralysis. Let's tell me what you want, send it to me by email, and I'll do my very best to get it for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Thought that was done already.
You need another second?
Yeah.
All right. Second. Well, we went and Dr. Stewart jumped in. All right. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Again, I apologize
Thank
for the
y'all.
delay at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank
It's
you.
okay.
Bye-bye.
Good to have everybody aboard. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Clark.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.